Thank you, Lindsay. I am here with Maria Bachmann. Maria is the artistic director for the Telluride Music Fest and a virtuoso violinist. Maria, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
And I should explain to our audience, because we've been saying at the outset of the show that you were going to be here with your husband, Josh Aronson,
Yes.
but Josh at the last minute had to call in sick. And so I'm taking his place to interview you. And I have to confess that I don't know that much about chamber music or the violin,
Okay.
so I'm going to rely on you and your expertise.
All
and
right.
I want to start, if you don't mind, I want to start before we talk
Yeah.
about the Telluride Music Fest.
Yes.
I want to talk about your Telluride story. How you came here, when you came here, why you
Yeah.
came here.
Well, actually, Josh came here years ago, years before I did, and he had built a family home here up the mountain, and he loved it so much. And then when we were dating, and goes way back around 2002 or so, he was saying, we should do something else here in the house. We're not using it quite enough. And I said, well, how about a chamber music festival? No, actually, it was his idea. Sorry, he'll kill me if I say it was my idea. It was his idea to do a chamber music festival, and I said, well, can I be the artistic director? So that's how we got started. And the attraction to Telluride has always just been that, first of all, it's a gorgeous place to be. The people are wonderful. They love music. And we always have a fabulous time when we're here.
Good. That's a good story.
Thank you.
So what's the difference between the Telluride Music Fest and the Chamber Music Fest?
Well, we're two different organizations.
Oh, you are, okay.
And also we do our concerts at a house up the mountain called, owned by Anna Vincent May, past Mountain Village.
Yep.
And it's a lovely conglomeration of a couple different barns. So we have a really huge living room with lots of wood around, which makes fantastic acoustics. They have a gorgeous old Steinway piano. It's 100+ years old, and it sounds fantastic. The acoustics are wonderful, and it's up the mountain, and we have fabulous views of the mountains as well, Mount Wilson in particular. And so that's where we do our concerts.
Great. And when you say we,
yes.
who's we?
Well, the core group of the festival right now is Trio Solisi. We're the founding chamber ensemble of the festival. And we also have guest artists this year, Catherine Lockwood on viola and her husband Yusuf Sharanik on percussion instruments. And they have an interesting group called Duo Jalal. They play all kinds of music from Middle Eastern to contemporary, classical to Hungarian to you name it, whatever. And we're going to be collaborating with them on a number of works as well, which is a lot of fun for us.
Well, this sounds very cool.
Yeah.
And what are the dates? It's this week, right? It's coming
yes,
up.
Yes. In fact, our first concert is Thursday
night?
June 27th.
Okay.
And that is going to be an all-trio concert, Schubert B-flat trio and Dvorak G-minor trio.
Okay.
And then the second concert is Sunday, June 30th, and that's going to feature Catherine and Yusuf on the first half, and Alexis, the cellist in the trio, and I will be joining them for some pieces called Medieval Dances. These are really from the medieval times. They're not even known exactly who wrote them, but they were so popular in the medieval times, played in courts or whatever. And then the second half we have a gorgeous Brahms trio, the most fabulous and famous Brahms trio, the first in B major. And then the third concert, we have a similar situation with Catherine and Yusuf leading off the first half with some wonderful pieces. One of them is by a jazz composer named John Patitucci, who many people, if you follow jazz, you've probably heard of him. And then a bunch of, actually several different short works by various composers featuring different combinations, some solo frame drum playing by Yusuf as well, and then a duo by Jacob Gordon. Gordon Jacob is his name. I'm not in it, so it's a viola and cello duo. And then we also have some wonderful Middle Eastern works where, again, Alexis and I collaborate with Catherine and Yusuf. And what's really interesting with Catherine and Yusuf and all these works that they're playing in is that Yusuf plays different instruments, different percussion instruments in practically every piece.
Wow.
So he goes from drums to tambourines
I
to
love that.
rick to, I don't know what they're called.
So a lot of variety, a lot of diversity,
a lot of variety,
it sounds.
Yes. And then the finale piece on the third concert, which is Tuesday, the July 2nd, is the Dvorak B-flat major trio, piano trio.
Right.
So that's the more classical side of things. So we have a really nice range and a nice mix.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So how many people typically come to your performances?
I would say in the range of 100, 120.
Right.
That's about what we can accommodate.
And if people
Yes.
watching this are interested in
Yes.
attending, how do they find out more?
Ah, yes, absolutely. Please call Warner Page, and his phone number is 970-417-0116. He can give you specific information about the concerts, where they're held, what time to show up, because all the concerts starts at 7:30. However, you do have to arrive earlier because there's a shuttle service that goes from down below up to the house, and it takes time to get everybody up there. To the May House. But once you're up there, it's really worth it. And what we like to say about our festival is that it's fabulous to hear music, and chamber music in particular, really up close and personal, because you're sitting just feet away from, and you could feel the vibrations through the floors, the wood floors,
wonderful.
through your feet, and it just hits you directly in the
heart.
Very,
very
cool. And our audiences just love that. It's so up close and personal. So I can highly recommend our concerts. Yes.
And tell me this, if you don't mind, if I can go back to your personal history a little bit and tell me, when did you start playing the violin? And were you a little girl, or were you?
I was very little. Actually, I started on piano when I was 4 years old. My father was a piano teacher. And then when I was 7, I started playing violin because I found a violin in the basement of our home, which used to belong to my grandfather. Interestingly, everyone in my father's family were all musicians. So, of course, it was natural that I become a musician. And then I switched to violin completely. I left piano, which I regret because I love the piano so much.
Wonderful.
So it's great that I'm playing in an ensemble with piano in it.
Yeah. Well, would you be kind enough to grace us with some of your violin playing?
Sure.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right. Well, we're gonna do that, and then after that, we'll go to a Miner's Minute brought to you by the Telluride Historical Museum, and I'm looking forward to this. How exciting.
I should also add we have a website, TellurideMusicFest.com, if people would like information and more specifics. If you can't remember everything I just said, the details of the programs on the concerts and phone numbers, etc., everything can be found at TellurideMusicFest.com.
Perfect. Thank you, Maria, very much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Stay with us. Maria's going to play the violin.
Well, I'm going to play 2 short selections. One, actually, I heard on the way over here an orchestra playing Dvorak's Slavonic dances, and our theme this year happens to be Dvorak. So I'm going to play a little snippet of that, even though it's not originally for solo violin. I'm going to start with that, and then I'm going to switch over to a little section from the Dvorak G minor piano trio, which we're going to be playing Thursday, June 27th. And then afterwards, I'm going to play a little selection of Langa Riyad, which is a very famous and typical Middle Eastern tune, and it's very, very danceable. That's going to be a lot of fun to collaborate with our guest artists on that. That happens to be on our last concert, which is July 2nd. And for those of you who are interested, I have a very old violin made in 1782, believe it or not, in Naples, Italy, by a man named Niccolo Galliano. And his entire family were all string instrument makers, mostly violins, in fact. But Niccolo, who happened to be the youngest son, is known to be really the best of the Galliano family violin makers. And I've been lucky enough to find one and been playing on it for about 15 years now. So hope you enjoy it.